In North India, there is a saying, "Yaar teri to chandi ho gayi," and that is a very apt saying right now because silver has crossed 2 lakh rupees per kg in India. In Mumbai's Zaveri Bazaar, traders are in shock. They are in fact cancelling the orders of physical silver. Why? Because simply they cannot meet the demand of physical silver. Silver demand has been so high. If I take you back to June 2025, silver was trading at 1 lakh rupees per kg, but the demand has been so high that it has doubled. It has crossed 2 lakh rupees per kg in just a matter of 4 to 5 months. Now here is an interesting data point for you. See my screen. And if you look at the same time period, which is June to October 25, in global market, if you look at the price of silver in dollars, it has only appreciated by around 62%, while in India, it has gone up by almost 100%. Now, there is no rocket science why in India it has doubled versus globally only 62%. Reason is very simple. The mismatch of demand and supply within India locally, and that's why in India, there is a huge demand of physical silver and the prices have gone up to almost 100%. But if I take you to global markets, have a look at my screen. If you look at last 18 months of period, silver price even in global market has gone up by more than 100%. Silver has been in a massive bull run in 2025 as you can see in my screen, but more importantly, if you go back to 50 years of history of silver, you will see that there were similar 2 big bull runs in the past. One was in 1980s caused by Hunt brothers. Second was in 2011, economic conditions led to that particular bull run. But if you note, after both the previous bull runs, silver crashed like anything. It came down rapidly as you can see in these both bull runs. So the billion-dollar question is that currently when silver has gone back to the same bull run prices, can it crash again? Will the history repeat itself and it will crash? Or can silver sustain this particular bull run? If I show you another data point here, Motilal Oswal is predicting that by 2026, silver is going to cross 2.4 lakh target. Now, if you're totally confused about what to do with silver, this video will help. Why? Because I will talk about the short-term trend of the silver. Can the price go up or down? Long-term trend of the silver. What is the outlook? Let's say 2030, 2035. And finally, when will I personally take entry in silver? What is the right time to take an entry in silver? Every word I speak will be backed by data. Let the data talk. Before we deep dive into this video, wish you all a very happy dhanteras. On this auspicious day, we have partnered with Money, who have made it super easy to buy digital gold and digital silver starting from just 10 rupees. And I'm talking about 999.9 purity of gold powered by MMTC PAMP. So you actually own real physical gold just stored somewhere else safely in an insured vault. No locker, no making charges, no hassle. The best part, you can even set up a SIP, meaning every single month you can invest in digital gold so that your gold reserves continue to grow up while the price gets averaged out. And of course, you can invest in digital gold or silver at live prices right from your phone. So this Dhanteras, instead of doing one-time purchase, maybe start a small habit that can grow into something bigger. Check out Money. Link is in the description. Start your gold SIP today. Coming back to our main chart and talking about what is the outlook of silver. Can silver crash from this massive bull run that we are seeing in 2025? For us to be able to make some important conclusions, let us look at the previous 2 bull runs and see what caused those bull runs and what caused the crash in those bull runs. And if there is any similarities between the previous bull runs and this bull run that we are seeing, then of course we need to be really careful. So let me talk about 1980s bull run caused by Hunt brothers. Who were these Hunt brothers? They were 3 brothers, okay? And in 1970s in US, there was a huge inflation. And these 3 brothers thought that, you know what, the only hedge with this inflation is silver. We are going to buy physical silver. We are going to hoard it. That's what is going to build a lot of wealth for us. They started doing that. They started doing that using the leverage or the debt. Right? And what happened is that in few months time, silver price went from $6 an ounce to almost $50 an ounce. Now, when regulators saw this, of course, they will put restrictions. They did not like this. They thought this was a manipulation. So they started putting a lot of restrictions on the leverage itself. So Hunt brothers could not trade on leverage. Therefore, all of a sudden, when they could not buy silver, the demand of the silver dropped and therefore all of a sudden the prices crashed. And this was the main reason of 1980s silver crash. But now coming back to 2025, Is it caused by few people, the silver demand? No, absolutely not. In fact, I will talk about why the silver prices are going in 2025. I'll talk about that in a minute, but there is no similarity between what happened in 1980s and 2025. So people who are saying that just how in 1980s silver crashed, it is going to crash in 2025, that's a very baseless assumption. For this, you need to share this video with them. Coming to 2011 crash that we saw in silver, this huge bull run followed by a crash. What happened here? Economic conditions across the globe was horrible in 2011. I don't know how many of you remember it. I clearly remember it. I was in UK. What was happening in Europe? What was happening in US? If you remember that, let me summarize in quickly 3 points. What are the 3 points? Point number 1, in 2011, if you look at Eurozone, it was in big trouble. Greece, Ireland, Portugal, Italy, Spain, all these countries had reported huge financial problems. It felt like at the time that all these countries are going to default, right? Point number 1. Point number 2, if you go across the Atlantic, go to US, there Fed had announced that they are going to start a huge rate cut cycle, and in fact they will bring the rates to 0% and they will remain it for 2 years. Now imagine what will happen to the economy, right? Everybody started buying silver at that time. And point number 3, which was the nail in the coffin, which was the Swiss National Bank coming out and publicly saying that, you know what, we are going to print unlimited money. I mean, people went crazy. What are you doing? You are going to print unlimited money? What is going to happen to the currency, the fiat currency? And people started buying silver left, right, center, and therefore the silver prices went up. But what happened afterwards? All these fears fizzled down. There was no reality in any of these narratives, and hence when the demand and supply caught up, silver crashed. Is this happening in 2025? Well, not to the extent that we saw in 2011. Of course, in 2025, we have seen tariffs, we have seen US shutdown, we have seen economic conditions worsening. Indian stock market has not moved at all, right? Those things are definitely there, and that may have influenced the price of silver little bit, but that's not the entire picture. We need to understand what is causing the silver rally in 2025, and for this, allow me 2 to 3 minutes of time. I'm going to explain to you with a lot of data as to what is actually happening in 2025. Let me now come back to what is causing this massive bull run in silver in 2025. I'll give you 2 simple data points and it will become 100% clear. First data point, have a look at this chart. Don't worry, I will simplify this. This is simply showing you total supply. You can see this total supply line here, and you can see total demand of the silver in the last 8 years or so. Very important trend you will see here is that if you look at before 2020, so 2020, 2019, 18, 17, 16, if you compare total supply and total demand of the silver, you will find that the demand of the silver has been lower than the total supply of the silver. And therefore, the silver prices were very, very stagnant. But look what happened after 2021. The demand of the silver has been going higher, 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 while the supply has not been able to catch up. As you can see in 2021, 2022, 2023, compare these 2 figures and you will note that the demand has been higher as compared to the supply. Now you will say that, Rahul, if that was the question, the bull run should have started in 2021 itself, right? But if you see in 2021, 2022, silver prices were dropping. So your rationale is very, very bogus rationale. And I totally agree. That's a very, very good argument that you should do, whoever is explaining to you the silver using this demand and supply. So what has caused this massive rally in the last 4 to 5 months? For that, you need to look at this article that was published just yesterday, which is that in London, which is the global city for silver, gold and precious metals, that's where the trading happens, that's where silver and gold is hoarded in vaults. What is happening there is that physical silver inventory has gone down drastically in the last few months. In fact, I will show you this data that I got from LBMA, and here if you see this bottom chart which is showing you the silver color, this is showing you the inventory held in London. What you note is from 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, the inventory was very, very good level. In fact, all-time high. But if you note in 2023, 2024, it dropped massively. And in 2025, see, this has gone to the record lowest level. Can you see these tiny little silver bars here? This has gone to almost 30% lower, maybe 40% lower than the peak time back in 21-22, meaning that the inventory or the physical silver in London vaults have dropped massively. And as a result of this, the demand is still very, very high and the inventory has gone down. What will happen? The prices will shoot up. That's what has exactly happened in the case of global market, and of course, India cannot be insulated. India is also importing silver, right? Therefore, what has happened here in India also, the prices have gone up. Now, this is a very, very short-term phenomena in my view. This sharp rally in the silver is a very, very short-term phenomenon. Why? Because the moment this inventory in London is restored, what will happen? The prices will stabilize or may in fact they may further correct, right? It is entirely possible. And in fact, I was reading about what is happening, what people are doing in London. What they're doing is now they're bringing this silver from New York because they have to fulfill that inventory demand. Why? Some of these traders have shorted silver, and if they can't fulfill their contracts, they're going to make huge losses. So they are in fact importing silver from New York and putting that into London. Look at China. They may also send silver to London. Why? Because it is at a very, very good price. Although the problem with China is that they also consume a lot of silver themselves, right? Again, this is a very, very short-term phenomena. This price rally is driven by short-term inventory problems in London. Personal view that I carry is that it will sort out itself in a very, very limited time period, in weeks, or maybe in couple of months, 3 months time, and the prices may see some correction or it may remain sideways, right? That is entirely possible. Therefore, in short term, the outlook is not that, it's not that silver is going to continue like, I don't know, 80, 70, 60. It may not happen in my view. Again, I could be totally wrong here, but the short term, you have to understand what is causing this problem. The moment this problem goes away, the prices may see some correction or stabilization. That is what you need to keep in mind. But now let me speak about the long-term trend of silver. Unless you get the both perspective, short term and long term, you don't know where to take an entry. And I'll talk about the third point as well, which is where to take an entry that I personally will go and do. So for me to talk about silver's long-term outlook, let's say 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, let me present to you 3 simple data points. First data point is the demand and supply situation or outlook in the next 5 to 7 years. Have a look at my screen. What you see here, green line is the silver supply, okay? And the red line or the orange line that you see is the silver demand. And what do you note here? That in 2024 May, demand and supply, there is slight gap. But this gap is likely to increase as we go to 26, 28, 2030. And there is likely to be huge gap by 2030 in terms of the supply and demand. Demand is going to be very high. While the supply cannot be increased overnight, it will take years or decades to be able to increase silver supply. Point is very, very simple. Silver will be in scarcity up until 2030, until there is a lot of production that happens. And what is driving this demand? It is the photovoltaic silver demand, PV demand. What is PV demand? Photovoltaic is simply sunlight say electricity banana. That is your solar. And if I show you some data, that is going to drive almost 40% of global silver demand by 2030. So if you're thinking 2030, 2035, silver will remain in scarcity. Therefore, the demand will be there. Therefore, the prices will remain higher. It's not that it is going to crash or something like that. In my view, that is going to remain higher. There might be some short-term correction. Please understand that because of the inventory problem I talked about in the previous section, there might be short-term correction, but longer-term trend is very, very positive. Now comes even the more important point, which is the second data point, what I want to show you. If you look at the previous bull runs, right, 1980s, 2011, actually, we think that while looking at the price that we have already gone to the previous 2 bull runs price in terms of the $50. But you know what? There is another important parameter that we are missing, which is inflation. See, today's $1 is not equal to what was the value of $1 in 1980s. So although you see in 2025, the price has gone to $50 an ounce or $52 an ounce, it's not a right comparison. Right comparison will be, let's adjust it for inflation. What you see here is that if we adjust it into inflation, then current price, let's say somebody plotted this chart, $47 pay if silver is there. So it is comparable to $199 an ounce at that time in 1980s, right? Because of the inflation, right? So from an inflation perspective, there is still a lot of room for silver to grow and catch up the previous 2 bull runs. It can go to $72 as per the 2011 inflation adjusted data, and it can go to $199 as compared to 1980s inflation data. I hope this point is very, very clear. The third point is that the value of the currency. This is not about inflation, the value of the fiat currency. How much of money US has printed in COVID? You all know that 80% of their money printing happened in 2020, right? Every country has printed a lot of currency, fiat currency. So the value of the fiat currency has dropped. And if you were to extrapolate that, you will see even mind-boggling data here that compared to 1980s, the value of the money, if you see the money supply in US, if you see that, then we are almost 20 times away from the price at the time. And if you look at 2011, it is almost 3 times we are still away if you talk about the currency's value, right? So these two factors also we need to keep in mind, that not only the demand of the silver, but the value of the money has dropped. Therefore, the value of the silver should ideally be very high, and therefore you need to keep this longer term perspective about silver. Now, Rahul, these are very, very good data points. We have understood what is going on. Now comes the $1 million question. Silver mein invest kare ya na kare. That is up to your choice. Your choice. What is my view? I will talk about that. Again, this is not a recommendation. I'll tell you where I will take an entry in silver if I want to take an entry in silver. If you're so far liking this video, request you to hit the like button. Let me know in the comments a simple thank you. It motivates me to curate content for you at zero cost. Also, if you want to get exclusive content, then you can consider joining my YouTube community. I talk about stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, gold, silver, various aspects of personal finance, that if you understand, you're going to make hopefully better investing decisions. Feedback of this community has been excellent. Simply go to my channel, find the join button and be my guest. Now coming to the entry point that I personally will use for silver, and in fact the same logic I've used for gold as well. If you have not watched my gold video, you can go and watch that video as well. I've given you a lot of data points there as well. Coming back to silver, what you see on my screen is 200-day moving average represented by this silver line. I have carefully chosen the color here, silver color. And the candle graph that you see, this is the price of the silver. What you note is that whenever silver's price is very high as compared to this 200-day moving average. What is 200-day moving average? That today, if you go back to previous 200 days and average out the silver closing price, that will give you this graph, nice graph, right? And if silver has been trading at higher than this 200-day moving average price, then it eventually corrects, right? Now, how long it can remain higher, we don't know that. Now, let me show you some past data. So if I just come back here, so for example, here, look back in 2020 to 21, what do you see here? There's a huge gap in silver price versus the 200-day moving average. Can you see this gap here? And what happened? It remained high for some time, but eventually the silver price is corrected and it went down, very, very down to the 200-day moving average. So the entry point here could be that as soon as silver price is coming down to the 200-day moving average, that becomes your entry point. It doesn't mean you put everything there, right? You stagger it out because it might further correct, right? So you buy silver, in my view, always in batches, or for that matter, any other asset or even stocks, etc. You have to stagger your buy. Again, let me show you even some more data. Coming back here, if you see, look at this graph here. Again, back in 2011, same thing, massive bull run in silver. Price went very, very high, very, very far away from the 200-day moving average. What happened eventually? It started to come down and started to come down massively below the 200-day moving average. So for me, the logic is very, very simple. When it starts to come closer to 200-day moving average, then you might say that, okay, I am comfortable taking risk now. But right now, if you talk about it, it's a very, very high risky affair in my view. People are buying silver because there is a fear of missing out. They don't know when will this rally stop. I don't know when this rally will stop, right? Or whether it will stop or not, right? But these data will help you give this perspective to you that it's not that it's a lottery that you go and buy. It can correct. Definitely it can correct. It may not correct. But these are the data points that you need to understand. So coming to how to buy silver, you can buy digital silver, right? Using Incred money. That is one option. Another good option is that you can look at ETFs. But when you look at ETFs, silver ETFs, you have to remember one point. What is that one point? If I go and talk about that first, look at these here. On this chart, I've plotted silver ETFs. HDFC Silver, Silver Bees, Silver ICICI ETF. Now, these are not recommendations by any means, but I'm giving you examples. What you see here is that these were trading very high as compared to the actual silver price in the last few days. Why? Because there was a huge demand of ETFs and therefore they were going all disaligned from their pricing, right? Again, eventually they might correct, they might come back to alignment, but you don't want to buy at these higher levels of ETFs. So what you need to do simply is go and check the INEF. Again, I've talked about that in my gold video. What is INEF? Indicative net asset value. What is the indicative net asset value, which is more realistic value of 1 unit of the ETF? Where will you find it? Simply go to the website of that particular fund house. For example, यहाँ पे Nippon India ETF. Go and find out what is the NAV as on 15th of October, 171.85. What was the trading price? 165. You know what? It was trading at slightly lower than the NAV. Happy days. But if it was, let's say, 175 or 180, then it means it is trading at higher than the INAV, meaning that you are paying more money to buy that ETF. Don't do it. Why would you want to do it? Unless you want to lose your money, then do it. Otherwise, don't do it. If you just follow this simple logic, INAV dekho pehle and look at the trading price. See how much is the difference. Sometimes you will not have any choice. You will have to pay 1%, 2%. That you have to decide how bullish you are. You have to buy, then you have to buy, right? I mean, but you at least you're aware that you are paying more money to buy the same ETF, right? So this is the logic. Again, I've given you a lot of these details. If you liked this video, share this with your friends because they don't know what is happening. They are just going and watching some random videos that silver will blow up like anything or silver will crash like anything. You have to give them these data points. They have to understand the risk of buying silver. They have to understand what is the right entry point for silver. Once you do all of that, they will make better decision for themselves. I'm not giving you any recommendation here, by the way, but hopefully this analysis will open up your mind, open up your eyes, and you will make far better investing decisions. Like the video, let me know in the comments, say thank you, and share this with your friends. I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, keep rocking.